Hello, I'm Treyvon Perry, CEO of Von Perry and president of Von Perry Students, a organization housed here at UT Arlington that both of them focusing on 3D printing homes and architecture. I'm also in a multitude of other organizations that pertain to architecture and sustainability. Right now, we're witnessing an exciting revolution within our society, another industrial revolution. And this industry will impact every single person that you know from tomorrow and then on, from your everyday office worker to your kids at school to the chair of tomorrow to the construction of your car, and more importantly to our future colonists on extraterrestrial bodies in the cosmos. The industry I'm talking about here is the 3D printing industry. And we're going to be talking about today why I believe this is one of the most important industries in society and for our civilization. If we dream and we all want this utopia of 100% sustainability, solar energy, environments being protected and living is affordable, and actually when living is affordable, you're able to focus on things that really matter to you, essentially, like your family or your happiness, essentially. But before we even move any further into that, we have to look at the history of 3D printing, which started off in 1981 with Hideo Kodama, a Japanese inventor who used ultraviolet light to hit plastic polymers to harden objects, which created the stepping stone for stereolithography, in short SLA, which was developed. This is also Hideo Kodama's 3D printer. Which created the stepping stone for stereolithography, in short SLA, developed by Charles Hull, which he used 3D printing for CAD models, essentially seeing a smaller model of a home to show a client, and it was very cost efficient and very innovative for its time. Now the next method is actually my favorite of all 3D printing methods, and is to be the most advanced. We have selective laser centering developed by Carl R. Deckard. Now, this method consists of you have a powder polymer laid down first, and then you have a laser striking down into that powder polymer, creating hard objects. And last but not least, we have fused deposition modeling developed by Scott Crump. And today is the most commonly used method of 3D printing. Now, I'm going to show you an example of that right there. This is a 3D printed helmet prototype that I had designed and put together. And just for a quick joke, my friends actually call me Black Iron Man due to my love for technology and my smarts and love and passion to create. But if we want that capability to be nationwide or a global thing, we will have to drive down the price of 3D printing considerably. In fact, there goes Scott Crump and his 3D printer. 3D printers were obviously used for commercial use back in the 80s, and as you can see, the price was driven down dramatically through the manufacturing of 3D printers at a costing rate. Now, today, the average price of a 3D printer is ranged between $6,500, and if the goal is to get a 3D printer inside of every single household by 2030 or 2035, the industry still has a lot of work we need to do, essentially. But this is a great start, and I was able to even purchase my own 3D printer for around $400, a very large scale, to 3D print that helmet prototype. Now, we're going to take a look into the space industry, because the 3D printing industry has now expanded into multiple fields. For example, we have a company called Relativity who has the world's largest 3D printer, and they're able to plop out a rocket in a mere 60 days. Compare that to SpaceX's Falcon 9 rocket, which has an 8-month construction phase, and even better comparison will be the Space Shuttle, which had a 5-year construction phase. It's extremely innovative. Now we're potentially looking at an industry disruption from Relativity once they keep on developing and innovating such technology, and they plan on releasing and launching their first rocket in 2021. Now, we're going to take a look at the car industry and the impact 3D printing has had on that, essentially. So I want you guys to really examine this part right here. You can tell this is in a very organic shape, and this could have never been formed by man. It actually would have taken 100 times more time to produce from a human being, but having the ability to 3D print has really drastically brought down the time to create such a feature of a car. Examining this next piece, you can definitely tell that it still shares the same characteristics of the last piece. Don't get scared, but this piece was designed and created by a computer, in other words, AI. You can tell this piece was designed and constructed with strategy, with economy, and it's very on purpose to fulfill it to its fullest. In return, making the final product, the vehicle, lighter and faster, stronger and cheaper, and increasing its efficiency, pushing the capabilities to the fullest. Now let's take a look at AI for a sec. AI does play a huge role in the next topic I'll be talking about, and which is my bread and butter, 3D printing homes. This form of 3D printing is very important, and I feel like, for me personally, it gave me my calling, essentially. The way you flow throughout a home is very important because it affects you in ways that you never would have thought of. And 3D printing gives a new capability for architects of the future to design your home in such a new and creative way. Now, we're going to take a look at AI Space Factory, one of my favorite 3D printing companies. And guys, if you're listening, please pick me up. I'm right here in UT Arlington. Got you. These people, man, they are a 3D printing company that produces habitats for space exploration, essentially. And check out their concepts for the Martian landscape. Now, the process of this would essentially be they will be sending their 3D printer to the site, be using materials on the Martian surface, such as basalt, which is very abundant, and all along bringing their plastic polymers that will be melted to form such large structures before the colonists get there to Mars, essentially. Very beautiful architecture. And as far as AI, as I was mentioning before, AI had a huge contributed very largely to the design of these habitats. So the AI essentially had came up with multiple egg-shaped forms and resulted in this last form to being the most structurally perfect, essentially, for the Martian atmosphere, which has dust storms that can last for months. Again, very beautiful architecture. And this is their more earthly concept. Now, none of these are made, of course, not yet, but within the next decade, expect a lot of these to be starting to pop up on Mars and around Earth. They expected this earthly concept to be built out in New York City sometime in the next 5 years. Now, looking at the moon now Icon is another revolutionary company that also impacted me in a very special way. It gave me a lot of motivation to really get into the 3D printing industry, and this is their recent concept they developed with NASA. Essentially, they will have the same process as AI Space Factory, sending a 3D printer to the lunar surface using materials on the surface to produce such structures. Again, very innovative. And as you see, with the previous space race, you saw technology that was being developed finally being brought down to Earth and being used by consumers like me and you. And now, actually, this is another concept, but this is the first 3D printed house in the United States out in Austin, Texas, developed by Icon. And things like this are being developed globally as well. And as we see right here in China, they're way ahead of us, by the way. They 3D printed this hotel in 3 days. Now, if we go back to this house was 3D printed in 1 day, and the cost is around $5,000 to $10,000 each. And their Icon's mission is to defeat homelessness before moving on to this consumer level, like for me and you. And of course, Dubai, who has definitely the money to produce such structures and invest into this type of technology, they want to 3D print 1/4 of their infrastructure by 2030. Now, this leaves, oh yeah, by the way, here's some amazing positives and some problems that 3D printing solves. It reduces the waste of construction sites. Homelessness could help with the current housing crisis. It's very sustainable, extremely cheaper than conventional construction, and limitations are decreased, creating new opportunities for architects of the future. So the question is asked, what is my team, Treyvon Perry, doing currently? Right now, we are working on the development of our, where's that video at? I do have a video in there somewhere of this same 3D printer. Right now, we're working on the development of our first 3D printer we call Project Inspire. And let me get to the next page. As I said before, we believe our impact will come not just on our 3D printing, but our architecture. All these concepts were developed by me personally, but you can only imagine what a team of very talented architects can produce when given such capabilities like 3D printing. Now, this is a modular 3D printed home, which would share components, and I got plenty of time to explain these. This is a 3D printed modular home that will have prefabricated elements as well. And this is a fully 3D printed home, one bedroom, very large one bedroom. And this is another goal that Treyvon Perry has in store of bringing the cost down of healthy foods. We obviously in America that eating healthy is very expensive, and bringing the price down considerably can really drive down the obesity problem we really do have in the United States. So developing vertical farms really brings down the price of that, and 3D printing such structures, enabling for more facilities like this vertical farm right here that we developed, can really bring down the price and solve that issue. But all this right here would be 3D printed essentially. So I would love to thank Hideo Kodama, Scott Crump, Carl Deckard, and Charles Hull. You guys are the beginning of something that's going to stick with humanity forever. And as we progress along this amazing timeline, I hope we can all, everyone here, see eye to eye as a community. I hope everyone here is just excited about where we're going as I am, because there's so much more to do. One thing I can assure you as well is that I don't know what other planets we're going to be exploring in our future, but I guarantee you the first structures that will pop up for humanity on those extraterrestrial planets will be 3D printed. Stay updated because this is the rendering of that 3D printer. If you have any questions, please go to our website, shoot me a quick email or talk. Other than that, I thank you, TEDx, for giving me the chance to speak, and I thank the audience for listening. Thank you.